Hello and a warm welcome to today's Cartography Card Kit workshop. I can't wait to make these cards with you. They're going to be so much fun. We have beautiful materials to work with, and I've got my instructions printed here and ready to go, and my Cartography Card Kit, plus my handy Fiskars trimmer, as well as my accordion pocket file. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so happy you chose to join us for this workshop. If you don't have this accordion pocket file, it's totally okay. If you do, you're going to love it, and we can set you up with how to make one of these out of 12 by 12 papers. In the meantime, just maintain 4 piles in your workspace, and we're just going to maintain our 4 pockets with all the materials as we prep to make our 3 sets of 4 cards each. And the lip of that accordion pocket file just sits right underneath my trimmer base here. And now I'm going to take the envelopes and other goodies from the collection and just slide those off. And we're focusing on just the paper for starters. Now, if you've been around Club Scrap for any length of time, you know that usually everything in the box is cover weight. You'll notice that the Cutaparts this month are not. And that's for a very specific reason, so that we can lighten the weight of our cards, or decrease the weight rather, and then also fold easily on some neat map fold inserts. So it's by design that the Cutaparts are text weight this month, and I hope you like them. I kind of like it, actually. Okay, so let's just grab all the paper and sort it in the order that we'll be using it. We're going to start off with a sheet of the blue. It's very dusty, almost like a grayish blue. And next, find the khaki. It's sort of it is a soft shade of brown or green, depending on how you look at it. Then we'll do a light gray, so can compare that to the dark gray, which is quite a bit darker than this shade. And then white. So we're just going to go, that was blue, khaki, light gray, white. Then we'll go blue and khaki, light gray, and then 2 dark gray. Next, grab both prints. We'll put those face down. Find the Cutapart that has the larger piece, Who Makes the World a Better Place. And then we have the final sheet of Cutaparts. We'll just flip that over to the plain side as well. And now take the whole stack, and we'll go back to where we started with the blue. Now we're going to cut 2 sheets at a time. If you don't have a trimmer like this, I recommend you switch and just do 1 sheet at a time. This paper is extremely heavyweight, and you really need a good quality trimmer to take care of the cutting of 2 layers at once. So we do need to find, and it's especially important because because of the weight of the paper, but we have to find the grain direction. So for this one, I almost advise pushing in on the paper and just think about how it feels, and then rotate 1 turn. This is much harder to push in. This is much easier. Okay, so I want the paper to push in easily from the top of the trimmer to the bottom. Okay, so that's when I push in there, it's pretty easy. Now, the arrow on the diagram, as you see here, is what indicates which way that's supposed to go in. I'm going to do the same exercise now with the khaki. Definitely easier to push in this way. So in it goes, and we'll stack those papers neatly together and dive right in by trimming at 11 1/4. So if you're new here and new to measuring, just take your time, push pause as needed, maybe even slow me down. And as you increase in your skills and familiarity with measuring, this will be a piece of cake for you. All right, so 11 1/4. Remember that the 11 is way over here. Don't look at those centimeters, look at the inches. And I think it was 1974 that we tried to switch to the centimeters, but it didn't happen. So here we go, 11 1/4. When you're working with 2 heavy papers like this, it's so important that you stabilize and push firmly on that clear bar. I'm also standing. You may want to consider doing that as well. A lot of people stand up in my classes, and I can understand why you'd want to. Okay, now we move down to the 7. Firmly stabilize. And then rotate the 7-inch paper and trim at 10. For now, I'm going to set these larger pieces aside to be scored. They will end up in a pocket eventually, but not quite yet. I'm just going to have a separate pile for those. And then this larger strip, the smaller strip rather, that can go in pocket C. And now this next piece, I'm going to trim at 11. And this piece needs to be set aside to be scored. And the smaller piece that fell off the end for pocket A. And then this can go in D and we can decide if we want to use it later. Okay, we're going to repeat all of that with 2 more colors. So light gray, again, we want it dipping easily or pushing in easily from the top to the bottom of our trimmer. And then we want to do that with the white, that plain white as well. There we go, dipping easily top to bottom according to that arrow on the diagram. Once again, our first cut here is at 11 1/4 and 7. And a rotation here and trim at 10. We have 2 more card bases that need scoring, so I'll set them aside and then place this in pocket C. Take the longer strip here, we'll trim at 11. Let's score these and file these in pocket A, and the longer pieces can go once again in D. Now we have a different pattern to make, but the grain direction has to go the same way. So let's once again check. Oh, it definitely wants to go that way. This, I can feel that. Okay, pushing in easily top to bottom. This time our first cut is at 11 1/2. So that's halfway between the 11 and the 12, right? Push firmly. And then go down to 6 1/4. 6 1/4. Rotate. We'll cut at 10 3/4. 7 1/2. All right, the 7 1/2 inch piece that we just created gets scored. This next rectangle, pocket C. The next little strip now, you're going to trim it at 6. All right, and place that in pocket B. First item in there. Okay, now these, we're going to trim. No, we're not going to trim these. These are a scrap. I'm sorry to inform you. We're not going to use them for anything. All right, this next long strip, just bear with me here, okay? Just take it carefully and concentrate. We'll trim at 11. 4 1/2, so you're going down quite a ways. 3 1/4. Now rotate the 3 1/4 so it's horizontal and trim at 5. This piece goes in pocket B. Then you have some little scraps that fell. Those you can get rid of. You have this really little strip here. We're going to rotate it so it's horizontal and trim at 5. Pocket B. And again, you have some little tiny scraps. This other larger piece that fell needs to be scored. These 2 little bits that fell off the end, that's 1 by 5 1/4 right now, C, pocket C. And then this can go in D. Whew, good job. We're gonna repeat that. So if you didn't get it the first time, you'll get it the second time. Oh, all right, we need to dip easily top to bottom. And then we're gonna take one of the dark gray as well. So light gray and dark gray, both of them dipping top to bottom. First cut 11 1/2. Again, working carefully. And then 6 1/4. Rotate. Trim at 10 3/4. 7 1/2. This gets scored. The next large piece, pocket C. This one needs to be trimmed horizontally at 6. Pocket B. 2 little tiny scraps. We can get rid of those. Pick up the next larger strip. First cut on this will be 11. Again, work carefully with it here. 4 1/2. 3 1/4. rotate the 3 1/4 and trim at 5. Pocket B, 2 little scrappies. This thin strip here, trim at 5. Pocket B, tiny scraps. This next larger piece, largish, it's not that big, that gets scored. And then finally this little strip in C. The long piece is for D. Okay, now we go to just one sheet of dark gray. We have to check our grain again, and I want it dipping easily from top to bottom. So I do know what we're going to do with this paper when we're done trimming it, and I've calculated the best direction for it, the grain. Let's trim it 9 3/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. If you want, you can just take both of the strips, the one you just made and the one that just fell. They should be the same width. And we'll cut at 10 and 5. You made 4 panels the same size for pocket A. And then 2 little pieces for D. The other 2 pieces that remain are the same width, and you can trim them at the same time as well. We'll start at 11 1/2 and 5 3/4. These grow up to become those cute little matchbooks, and they need to be scored. So all these little strips go in the score pile along with the 2 little scraps, so you can just throw those away. Next up, we have our print, and let's cut this one at 8 1/2. Grain doesn't matter on this one. And 4 1/4. Then you can stack the 2 pieces that you just created, and we're going to trim them in half at 6. All right, gather these up, all the 4 the same, pocket B. And then nice easy cuts here. We're going to divide this into 4 equal sections, trimming on all the numbers divisible by 3. So we start at 9, then 6, and 3. All 4 of these little rectangles for pocket C. Take the next print. We'll trim this one at 10 1/4, 6, and 3. You can take the 2 pieces you just made, stack them neatly, trim at the same time in half at 6 inches. All 4 of these panels are destined for pocket C. All right, we're going to do the same thing here where we trim on numbers divisible by 3 to create 4 equal sections. So we'll start at 9, 6, and 3. You made 4 pieces the same for pocket A. This last strip we'll trim at 9 1/2 and 4 3/4. Both of these they're actually used on the inside of a card, C. And then you have a little scrap here for D, or you can throw it away. All right, we've arrived at our Cutaparts here. So let's take a look just to review, especially if you're new. Do you see those little registration marks there in the corner? Everything from that line needs to be removed, and that's from all 4 edges. So I'm just gonna, on that first cut, I just make a cut near the line, but not necessarily to it. Then I rotate, and this time I can see my blade really pretty well. It's the edge of that stainless steel blade on my trimmer here. And that's one of the reasons I like this trimmer, is I can see the blade. Got it all lined up. And then I'll rotate, get the next side here. I have you do this step because those larger commercial trimmers don't always hit the mark perfectly. And if we don't start at just the right measurement, it's just like a domino effect. Everything from that point on is a little off, okay? So I'm getting rid of all of those little scraps. And I want to begin trimming this while the text reads right side up here, who makes the world a better place, okay? So wishing you the happiest of birthdays, that'll be on my right. And I really want you to be careful when you're trimming this. I actually, you know, to map this out, I had to make some interesting twists and turns. And when I was making my sample after this came back from the printer, I messed it up. So I don't want you to do that. Let me do the messing up for you. I hope you're not scared now. Your first cut is at 8.5. And you're gonna rotate already, okay? I even put rotate in the instructions because of this. All right, then we'll trim at 10.5, 8.5, and 4.25. Rotate that 4.25 inch piece and trim again at 4.25. That makes a nice square. Both of these square panels, pocket A. Pick up the next strip and we'll trim again at 4.25 and place both of these in pocket A. Now we have this little strip here, and you see how there's a little scrap at the end? All right, so that's got to be on the right, and we want to trim at 8, 6, all the even numbers, 4, and 2. All 4 of these little squares end up in pocket A. And then we have a tiny little scrap that fell from the end. This we can cut in half at 4.25. And that's for pocket C. This final strip, we get to do the cut in fourths again by trimming at 9, 6, and 3. So here we go, 9, 6, and 3. All of these end up in pocket A as well. Lot for pocket A, right? Okay, now this last sheet of Cutaparts, we need to do the same treatment. So I'm going to just trim off those edges by following the guides and allow that to level the paper too. You may need to level things out. So just prioritize aligning the hash mark with the edge of your blade. And then you can go back and clean things up as much as you need to. At some point, you'll be able to even look left and find the 12-inch mark. I love how my trimmer can just take off literally a hair of paper. It's pretty good stuff. To begin now, we will rotate the paper so the word friendship is on the right, and basically that's the skinniest piece coming off the end first. That's kind of how the method to the madness works. And I'm going to trim at 10.5, 7.25, 6, 4.75. And then a rotation. And guess what we get to do again? 9, 6, 3. So 9, 6, 3, and stacking all of these up for pocket B. We have this 2 little strips. They get trimmed the same, but I'll do one at a time. Since they're so little, we're gonna go 10 and 5, making sure that little strip was on the right. I'm gonna quick do the other one, 10 and 5. Okay, all of the longer, skinnier ones, so there should be 4. Let's go in pocket B. And these 2 little graphic images, C. Those would have been scraps, but Jacqueline puts art on the scraps as well, and then I end up using it. Here we're gonna make sure the little compass pieces are on the right. We'll trim at 11, 8.25, 5.5, 2.75. Load up all of the pieces, including the little guy that fell off the end, C. Okay, now we have these little guys on the right, sent with love. Okay, so those are gonna become 3/4 inch high. So I'm gonna start out at 11.25, 10.5, 9 3/4, 9, and 4 1/2. Okay. These two strips, pocket C, and the 4 tiny little sentiments, B. If you want, if you happen to have the 4 little marquee tags, those go in B as well. And at the 4 little glassine envelopes, C. There you go. We're finished with our trimming, and I have to tell you, I think this is a pretty impressive size of certain scraps. Not bad for making 12 cards, is it? That's not bad. Oh, it's tolerable. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of my trimmer and swap it for a score pal. Basically, during the scoring step, I'm gonna sort in the order that it landed in the pile. So on the top of your pile should match the top of mine. I've got these little strips, right? We're gonna score these horizontally. So when I say horizontally, I mean the horizontal edge, or the longest edge, is at the top of the score pal. And rather than use the plastic bone folder, I use a round tip stylus because they last a little longer and they do a pretty good job. So I'm going to score at 2 1/2 and 5 1/4. Noticing that I'm holding my scoring tool like a pencil, and rather than the overhanded way, I have a little more control if I hold it like a pencil. 2 1/2 again on the next one, 5 1/4, 2 1/2, 5 1/4. 2 1/2, 5 1/4. Okay, easy peasy. All of that goes in pocket A. Now I'm reversing in my instructions to my next pile. Okay, so I have these smaller pieces and then a pair of large, another pair of small, and then a pair of large. So I'm going to do the small ones first and place them into the score pal. So the reading here is 6 1/2. This is a horizontal position. 5 1/4 down here, 6 1/2 here. And we'll score at 3 1/2. And now I want you to flip this paper, bringing the bottom to the top. So I flipped it and then score at 5. Let's repeat that. Horizontal, score at 3 1/2, flip, 5. Repeat. Horizontal, 3 1/2, flip, 5, and one last time on the light gray for me, 3 1/2, flip, and 5. All of these go in pocket B. And now we have the larger, they're almost square, so let's look. We got 7 1/2 and 6 1/4 here. So our measurements here are 4 1/2, flip, 6. Pretty easy. Repeat. 4 1/2, flip, 6. And make sure it goes in there the long way. 4 1/2, flip, 6. And your last one, 4 1/2, flip, 6. All of these go in pocket B. Now we have these longer, skinnier ones. There should be 4. And this one was on first. So these should be 4 1/4 by 11. And 11-inch edge, so it's in there horizontally. We'll score at 5 1/2. And do that for all 4 pieces at once here, making sure you have the long, skinny ones. 5 1/2 and 5 1/2. All of that goes in pocket A. Finally, we have the base for our 5 by 7 cards. So make sure it's horizontal. We got the 10 here, score at 5. So that white paper is a lot lighter in weight than these heavier cardstocks. So that should change the amount of pressure. And you know, on these heavier stocks, if you need to make 2 passes, that's totally fine. Scoring again at 5 inches for my last piece. These go in pocket C. And we are finished with scoring. Good job. Now we can get to making our cards. So let's grab everything out of pocket A. There's a lot in there, mind you. And set our accordion file aside on its back, because the trimmer is designed to hold it upright. So I'm going to keep, especially when it gets this heavy, keep it on its back. And boy, we got a whole bunch of stuff to sort out. So why don't you go ahead and do that? Like, make all the panels that are the same size in their own little pile, or organize it from largest to smallest. And don't be intimidated by the number of pieces. This card goes together quite easily. I think you're gonna love it. We're gonna have a little fun with folding, like an origami style fold. It's gonna be great. The first thing we can do here is take our card bases, the ones that are scored, the largest pieces, study the score line. There's going to be an indentation and a bump. The bump of the score line is what goes on the inside of the fold. If you've been around here a while, you know this very, very well. Bury the bump. If you're new, you might realize you've been folding your cards inside out for years. You never know. So the indentation goes on the outside, the bump goes on the inside. If you go to a card store and you look at how the cards are scored there, you'll notice that they do it that way also. Bump goes on the inside. So professional scoring outfits score that way, fold that way rather. Let's deal out all the pieces now. We're going to start out with the blue, and then let's go khaki, light gray, and white. Each card, now this is nice and easy, gets a gray panel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one gets a printed panel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one gets a gray matchbook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one gets a little strip. And this is doesn't play a function, it just adds color. So I add the white, the blue, the khaki, and the light gray. Then we have our little square sentiments. The first two will be on your birthday, and the second two will be you're one of those people. Then we've got I hope you know, who makes the world a better place on those bottom two. Then you have the two that kindly say you are old. And then we have wishing you the happiest of birthdays. So everything distributed now for these 4 cards, and tradition states now that I will make one with you because the remaining 3 cards are put together in the exact same way. So I'm going to take my smallest envelope and load them with the elements required for each card, and let's make this one together. Let's make the matchbook component first. We'll start out with this square piece of text weight paper. And again, this is why the paper has been text weight, is for this particular card. I'm going to take it and fold one corner to the opposite corner with the print facing the inside of the fold. And just crease it firmly. If you want, you can use your bone folder. Then unfold it and fold in the other direction. So this corner to the opposite corner. And the better that's lined up, the better. Nice and neat here on your folds. Okay, open that up. Now we're going to do a fold that would be horizontal this way, but we're going to turn the paper over, okay? And then fold it like that. So you'll be able to see the words, I hope you know. Okay, open that up. Now here's something that happens real naturally. If you just push in on the middle, do you see what happens? These sides start to come in together like that. Push them in, and then you should be able to make a little sandwich. Okay, so that's the look of this. The Turkish Map Fold is the name of this fold. Now I'm going to take the point of just one of the layers. Do you see how there are 2 layers? There are 2 triangles here. The point of one triangle, I'm going to bring it to the center, and I can see the center because of the way those 2 pieces meet right there. I hope you can see that. So I'm going to bring this little tip to the center, and then I'll do the same thing with this tip to the matching center here. I'm holding this up, whereas I'd normally be working on my work. Then flip the whole thing over and do the same. So I'm bringing this other tip. It's a double thickness of paper. And then the other side, the same thing. So now I have something that looks a lot like a house. Do you see the house shape? Okay, now I'm going to unfold both of those triangles. And we're back to this triangle here. Then I'm going to just find one little triangle here, and I'm going to reverse the fold of just that one part. So now it's, instead of being a mountain fold, now it's a valley fold, and squish it. And do the same with this one. So open it up a little. Reverse just that smaller triangle size fold. So I tucked that in. I've reversed it and tucked it. Do the reverse and tuck. It sounds like gymnastics. Okay, I'm going to open this up, reverse the fold, and then here's my last tip. And now I still have a house shape, just that all those folds are tucked inside. And you can see how this opens up. Cool, right? Okay, now we have our matchbook. So remember, you have the bumps of the folds. I'm going to fold down on this one and up on this one. To make our matchbook, I'm going to reverse the fold, reverse it so that the big flap is on top. And now within that area in the approximate center, I'm going to staple. But don't staple that flap, just below it, okay? Just like that. And now I have, if I tuck this in, I now have a matchbook. Cool, right? Open this up and then double check the direction of your piece. Make sure it's right side up. And you can see how it fits into the matchbook perfectly. So I'll set this down, and now I have my bookbinding glue in a needle tipped applicator. I'm just gonna put some glue on here and then press open all the way so you can glue the other side to the back wall of the matchbook. And then I can close it again. And then I need my sentiment on here, so I will add some adhesive to this, and that's going to go not centered on the flap but on the upper, so that the margin left, top, and right is the same. You have a little more space here because that's what tucks in your matchbook, okay? All right, that's cute as can be. Now let's continue on. We have this little strip, and we're going to add some of this taupe colored granulated ribbon. So I'm going to trim a length that's a little wider than the strip. And I have my tape and my dispenser here. I'll wrap the ribbon around the strip. And I'll secure it. Next, I'll take this dark gray mat and add some adhesive, and we'll mount this to the card 1/4 of an inch from the edge. And I'm just going to use my grid ruler to go 2 cubes from the edge and then place that on, that I know it's centered and level. Then I'm going to take the printed panel, and we're going to add this 3 cubes from the panel, 5 cubes from the edge, and then I know that that's centered. Next, I'll add adhesive to my little strip here. And we're going to attach this 1 inch from the bottom edge of the card. Notice how I make such a habit out of incorporating the ruler. Okay, and then this, I'm going to make sure I have a thorough application of adhesive there, because it's going to be bending for people to try to get it open. And the bottom edge of this will just be kind of sitting on the ribbon. It's so sweet. Then I can take any of those self-adhesive waxed seals and remove the backing. I'm just going to place it right here. It's so cute, right? Just got it for fun. I hope you know you are loved, you are brilliant, and on the inside, you are old. For the inside of the card, if you would like, you can take these strips and like what colors are represented here. We got the gray, we got the blue, but we don't have khaki, and we don't have light gray. So notice that these nest. You got a 3/4 inch one and a 1/2 inch one. So if you wanted to, you could take a little scissors and cut a V into the wider strip and then maybe make another V that's slightly shorter. I'm just eyeballing. Make a little banner. I guess we'll use our bookbinding glue to attach this. Centered-ish. And then I can use glue for this. So if it's too narrow, I typically use bookbinding glue, and then I can add it to the bottom here if you wish, wherever you want. And then I'll add the sentiment. The banner, of course, is completely optional. You know, just going the extra mile and gilding the lily. There you go. You've got your cute little card and your cute little matchbook. This one is the same. You can see all of it is just like the other, and then the same exact assembly with a different sentiment on the remaining 2 cards. I hope you love these little matchbook cards. They're some of my favorites. After taking out the contents of Pocket B, take a few moments and just get everything organized again like we did before with the set A cards, where it's just organized by size, maybe graduated from largest to smallest to make this a much easier sort. Okay, then I'm going to take the largest pieces. Those are the main card base pieces, and let's just distribute those. So I'm going to go with the blue, and then the light gray, dark gray, and this khaki color. Next, I'll take the next largest scored pieces, and we'll distribute light gray, dark gray, the khaki, and then the blue. Okay, then each card receives one of these printed panels. That's a nice, easy thing to distribute. And then we have these sort of medium-sized panels. Let's go on dark gray. And you see how I'm continually adding more color to the card, then khaki, then blue, and then light gray. And then how about the sentiment? We'll go, no card can make this better for both of these, and then the hearts of many agree with you. So we've got some nice sentimental cards here. To keep rounding out the color, let's go khaki, a long strip of khaki, and then the long strip of blue, light gray, and then dark gray. Next, we're going to match. So there are shorter strips of the same style. We're going to match that color of the longer strip. So khaki again, blue again, light gray, and dark gray. And then the inner sentiments. Just know I'm always here for these 2, and then holding you in our hearts. Each card will also get a little mini black marquee tag. And then we have our main sentiment here, sent with love on these top 2, and then with sympathy on the others. Now from your envelope stack, we do have a medium-sized envelope, and this should be the same width as that largest card panel if it's in there like so. So I will load up these envelopes with what remains of card 2, 3, and 4. And as I mentioned before, all the rest of the cards get assembled the exact same way. So once you've made one, you'll know how to make all of them. And you're going to love how easy these are. We've done all the hard work up front, and now we just coast to the finish line with the assembly here. I think we can right out of the gates. Let's go ahead and nest our text weight sentiment from the Cutaparts onto this panel. And forgive me if the order of assembly on the video is a little different than the written instructions. Okay, we can set the rest of this aside, and let's just take the largest panel here. And remember when I talked earlier about the score lines, you've got the bump and the indentation, and remember we flipped this. We scored on one way, and then we flipped and scored the other. So there's a reason for that, and the scores will lead the way. So here's my bump of my score line. So I'm gonna bury it inside my fold, and I'll come in with my bone folder here. And then now here's a bump, so that needs to go inside a fold as well. So I'm just gonna fold back so that the bump is on the inside. Check that out. Okay, then how about we take our printed panel here, and I'm just gonna add this to the back wall of the card. So the flap is on the left, and my panel, let's see, however you wanna arrange that is up to you, is on, this is the back of the card. This is the front flap here. Then I can take this plain khaki strip, the tall one, and I'm going to add some adhesive to that and nest it right onto this front card flap here. Okay, nice. Now we have the other one. So we're going to follow the same lead. We got a bump here, so I'll fold, and then a bump here, so I fold back, and now I have a little pleat with this light gray as well. And this is a little different now. The pleat is going to be on the bottom on the right side. Okay, and if you want, you can go ahead and add your nested sentiment to this. Now making sure, again, this is a free edge. Then you've got a mountain fold here and a valley fold with the flap coming out to the right. And you can take the khaki and place that on this middle section. And the sentiment here, we're going to place that on the right section. Nice. So this end gets adhered here, and then this piece here. So the card will be flat for mailing, and then it will pop up for display. But really the great way to adhere it is when it's open, because then you can perfectly center it. To do that, I'll grab my little grid ruler here, and we'll center it 1/2 inch from the bottom of the card base. And that'll be 1/2 inch in also from the left and right edge. Okay, so here's what we do. Flip it over. We'll put adhesive just on this 1.5 inch area, and then on this little area here, and center it back onto the card. So just one little section here. Turn it back over. Okay, again, I'm going to go 1/2 inch from the bottom of the card and 1/2 inch from the left and right edge while the card is flat. Ta-da! 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 Isn't that great? Now, if you happen to have a corner punch, you'll need it, any kind of a punch. I'm going to take this Scent with Love, and I'm just on the 1/4 inch setting. I'm going to round those corners. I know it's such a little piece, but it really adds a lot. Scent with Love. I'll put a little adhesive on the back of that. And then with the hole of the tag on the left, I'll center this onto my tag. Then you can take some of this little blue jute, and I'm folding the piece in half that I've cut, and then I'll run the loop from the back of the hole through to the front and pull the ends. And you can trim those. I did a double thickness, I think, on my card samples because my ribbon had been folded in half. Now, you want to make sure that this does not extend past the edge of the card when you attach it. Okay, so I'm just going to place it like so, flip it over, and that way I can see my adhesive line should only go on that left edge, and I'll pop this back on, and I got my cute little bow here. And that's all there is to it. Easy peasy, right? So that's the blue one, and then the light gray card assembles in the same fashion. The dark gray is just a different sentiment, but same exact assembly. So have fun finishing up the remaining 3 cards in this set. So take everything out of that C pocket, and that will be what you need for this last set. And you can go ahead and get yourself organized with the items so that they're easy to distribute. Let's just start by taking our card bases and fold them in half. Once again, because of the heaviness of this paper, I'm coming in with my bone folder, especially in this situation, to give those creases a nice crisp fold. And I always just make sure too that the corners are lined up on the fold rather than just implicitly trusting my score pal to do it perfectly. A fine tune may need to occur. All right, so to distribute, we've got our blue card base and then a light gray. Those are both going to be vertical cards. And then I'll do the white card base and the khaki horizontally. From our pile here, we have the long 2x7" strips. Let's put a khaki one here, blue, light gray, and white. Then from those larger rectangular panels, do dark gray, khaki, blue, and light gray. Each one gets a print. And then you can also distribute one of these glassine envelopes to each card base. And how about another smaller printed panel here? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can do a sentiment for the outside. So life is a journey, both of these. And then though miles may lie between us, both of those. Then we have these little narrow strips, and I just went ahead and assigned these to a card. So we're gonna go light gray, dark gray, khaki, and blue. And that's the missing color. You know, that's the one that's not on the front, is on the inside. Now for the inside, let's put the sentiments there. So we'll go, may the adventures continue, happy birthday. And then the other two will go, friendship doesn't count the miles, it's measured by the heart. But we have all these other pieces. So on the white card, I'm gonna add the print. It's because these are trimmed to nest, just because I could. Otherwise this would have been a scrap, but I was able to use it, okay? Then we have the little pens. I use that on this one. And we have the little compasses on that one and the little compass rose on this one. And you can see the details of how I finished those cards on the instruction document. I always like try to show both the outside, a detailed shot of the outside of the card, and then whatever is happening on the inside. So it's all going to be pictured there, and you'll be able to check that out in more detail. Very straightforward assembly here on this one. I'm going to do something I did not do on my original sample of this particular card, but I'm going to take my corner chomper again, as long as we have it out, and I'm going to round the corners of this printed panel and of the nesting panel. And while I'm at it, I'm going to round just 2 top corners. If this is positioned horizontally, I'm going to round only the top corners. And then if this, do you see that it's squared here and rounded on the top 2 corners as well? So that's going to take the lead there. Let's begin with a piece of this sweet little taupe colored or light gray. It's granulated ribbon. It's so beautiful. I'm going to fold it in half after cutting it like a trapezoid. Fold in half. It gives me a nice double angle in the same direction. And I'm going to staple this to the top center of this piece. Now I know it's only a text weight paper, but it's okay because we're going to nest this onto the print. And it should fit right on there nicely. And now the staple is hidden, right? And this can slide into our glassine bag, and we'll add that to the card in just a moment. Next, I'll take the larger printed panel, and I'll nest this onto my dark gray. This is the beautiful light gray taffeta. It's a nice, easy ribbon. I love it for card making. And I'm going to trim 2 lengths that are wider than my panel, and I'm going to grab some cellophane tape here. We're going to do a crisscross. And not a loop, but just a cross. So do you see why I have this at an angle? I'm going to wrap that around to the back and secure those ends with my tape. I'll grab 2 more pieces and my second ribbon, and let's just make an X. Kind of even it out, loop it around to the back, and secure with tape again. Now the fun part. I'm going to take one of my cute little self-adhesive wax seals, and I'm going to put that right in the middle. Cute. Now for this vertical card, I do like to use my ruler, and I'm going to go about 1/4 inch from the edge. I'll put adhesive on this khaki strip here. And incidentally, they came off the end of the 12 by 12 sheet when I made my card base, so it was the perfect height. And now I'm going to place this next. I'm going to do that about a half an inch, no, 3/8 of an inch maybe, from the edge of the card here, and centered. Okay, and now my centerpiece here is the glassine envelope, which doesn't really close. It just holds our little sentiment here. And that could be, you know, repurposed as a bookmark or something. Now for the inside of the card, just something very easy that you know I like to do, which is to turn this into a little banner just by trimming a V into the bottom. And then I'll adhere that to the upper right side. And then our sentiment here. If you want to leave the sentiment inside the card but not attached, it gives you a lot more flexibility in case the sentiment isn't quite right. Like maybe you want to do this as an anniversary. So you leave off the sentiment and you just write happy anniversary inside. So this way you always hold the power really of choosing what goes into that card. So that is your first one, and the others assemble the same way. So I'll just show you the detail here. Same with the crisscrossed ribbon. Here I added the little extra piece. Then on the horizontal cards, just be aware of your ribbon length so it doesn't go past the edge of the card. And on the inside, there's the matted sentiment. So that's kind of cool that I was able to use that. Here, I don't think I had enough of the taffeta. So I did a double thickness of the jute and used the sticker with that. Also very cute. And that's the final card of this series of 12 awesome cards from the Cartography Kit. Hope you learned something new, maybe tried something new for the first time in this workshop, or just that you have a great set of cards. You can take the same exact map and all the trimming instructions and follow it again with papers from your stash. And I love to see people do that. I mean, because I put a lot of effort into making sure that these maps all work out. And so it totally makes this a recyclable project. You can make more cards just like this. And I love especially that set B with that little pop-up accordion, so much fun. The Cartography Kit also includes a page kit as well and stamps. So if you like this map and this masculine feel, join me for the page kit workshop. And if you're not already a member of Club Scrap, join us. You will save $8 on your kits and you'll save on everything else as well if you are a member. If you're hesitant to join because of a time commitment, we believe strongly that it's our job to earn your loyalty, so you can quit at any time if we're not keeping you happy. So thanks again for joining me for this card making workshop. Leave me a like, leave me a comment if you enjoyed this workshop, and I look forward to seeing you again next month.